Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're digging into a huge question. Does that old school advice for getting rich, save your pennies, work hard, even work anymore? Well, entrepreneur Mark Tilbury says a big fat no. So we're going to break down his brand new playbook for building wealth in today's world, right from scratch.
All right, so let's get right into it with a story. It's about this young, super ambitious guy named Jake who works at a cafe. So he asks this wealthy-looking older customer for some advice, and what does he get? A full-on lecture about how his entire generation is lazy. I mean, sound familiar to anyone?
Yeah, this really captures that disconnect, doesn't it? On one side, you've got this Mr. Grumpy perspective, this idea that young people are just entitled and want everything handed to them. But the reality? The reality for someone like Jake is a totally different universe. He's trying to juggle school, a job, and plan for the future in a world that's, well, a lot more complicated.
But you know what? Thankfully, not everyone's stuck in that old way of thinking. Mark Tilbury actually overheard this whole exchange and decided to step in. And his point of view, honestly, it's the foundation for everything we're about to get into. The future is in the hands of the young generation, and they need real guidance, not just a bunch of criticism.
So what was the very first piece of actual advice Tilbury gave him? Well, it wasn't about picking stocks or launching a business. Not at all. It was something way more fundamental. He said, before you even think about chopping down the tree, you have got to sharpen your axe.
And this analogy, it just hits the nail on the head. It points to a massive mistake so many of us make. We hear get rich, and what do? We immediately try to start some business or dive headfirst into complicated investments. Tilbury says that's exactly like trying to chop down a giant redwood with a dull blade. It's just going to wear you out, it's not going to work, and chances are you're just going to give up. Okay, so what is the right way to sharpen that axe? Well, this right here is the proven path. See, you don't start with the business idea, you start by mastering a high-income skill. That skill is what gives you the access and the experience, which then and only then lets you build real, lasting wealth. Seriously, the order here is absolutely everything.
So what exactly is a high-income skill? Simple. It's your sharp axe. We're talking about things like software development, copywriting, high-ticket sales, skills that can realistically earn you $10,000 a month or even more. But, and this is the real secret sauce here, the money is almost a side benefit. The real power is that these skills get you into the room with successful people. They give you access to conversations and opportunities that you just can't find anywhere else.
All right, so you've got that high-income skill and the cash is starting to roll in. Now we're at the next stage. The goal now is to flip the script and make that money start working for you. This is where you go from just having an income to building a real fortune.
And the engine that powers that whole transformation, it's one of the most incredible forces in the financial universe, compound interest. I mean, just think about this for a second. It's absolutely mind-blowing. 99% of Warren Buffett's massive fortune was made after he turned 50. How is that even possible? It's because he let his money grow on its own for decades. Compounding is like a force of nature, but it demands one thing from you: the discipline to put your money to work and then just leave it alone.
I know. It sounds like a trick question, doesn't it? How on earth can $250 a month turn into over $1.5 million? But it's not a trick. This is the magic of compounding in real time. Let's actually break down how these small, consistent investments can totally explode into life-changing money over time.
So here's the math, plain and simple. If you put just $250 a month into something like an S&P 500 index fund, which historically gives you about a 10% return per year, and you just let it sit for 40 years, you could end up with over $1.5 million. That's it. The recipe is so simple. Be consistent, pick a decent investment, and the most important ingredient of all, just give it time. And that right there brings us to the single biggest advantage you have when you're young: time. Time is literally the fuel that makes the whole compounding engine run. It also means you can afford to take some smart, calculated risks on things with higher growth potential. Because hey, if something doesn't pan out, you've got decades to recover. An older investor? They just don't have that luxury. Okay, so earning and investing. Those are the mechanics, right? That's the how-to. But none of it works if your operating system is buggy. This next part is all about upgrading your brain's software, because honestly, your mindset is the most important asset you'll ever have. This idea of Mount Stupid, it's actually a real thing. It's based on something called the Dunning-Kruger effect, where having just a tiny bit of knowledge makes people super overconfident. They think they've got it all figured out. You see, the broke mindset thinks getting rich is just about luck. But the successful mindset, it knows getting rich is a skill. And just like any other skill, it takes humility and a commitment to keep learning.
And this is what that difference looks like in the real world. The old broken way of thinking is that you graduate, you get your diploma, and that's it. Learning's over. In today's world, that's a recipe for disaster. The success model is all about being a student for life. You have to constantly give your brain those software updates we talked about, just to keep up and be able to spot the next big opportunity.
And you know, a huge piece of that lifelong learning is simply your environment, who you hang out with. I mean, look at this recent study. It shows that your social circle has a real, measurable effect on your finances. For every 10% increase in wealthy friends, people were way more likely to save and invest. It's true what they say. You really do absorb the habits of the people you spend the most time with.
Okay, so we've hit on skills, investing, and mindset. Let's pull all these threads together now with what is maybe the most important message of all, especially for the generation that's stepping up to lead.
Because this is really what it all boils down to. The high-income skill, the investing strategy, the millionaire mindset, they're just tools. They are tools for you to build the future you want. Tilbury's whole message is about empowerment. Don't let anyone tell you that you can't do it. The world really is yours to shape.
Look, at the end of the day, all this information is great, but it's only useful if you actually do something with it. And it all goes back to that very first idea. Don't get overwhelmed trying to become a millionaire overnight. Just bring your focus back to one simple question. What is the very first step you're going to take today to start sharpening your axe?